You pick up your phone. You didn't decide to. Your thumb just moved almost on its own, and now you're staring at a lock screen with no memory of choosing to look at it. There's nothing urgent waiting for you. No emergency, no deadline. Just the small, magnetic pull of a glowing rectangle and a hand that reached for it before your mind caught up. You do this dozens of times a day, maybe hundreds. And here's the strange part. You already know it doesn't make you happy. You felt the hollow scroll, the 15 minutes that vanished, the faint disappointment when nothing new appeared. And yet the pull returns within minutes, sometimes seconds, like a tide you can't hold back. This isn't a willpower problem. It isn't a generational flaw, and it isn't proof that you're somehow weaker than people who came before screens. What's happening in your hand right now is the result of one of the most carefully engineered behavioral systems ever built, designed by people who understood something about your brain long before you did. To understand why, you have to go back to a small box in a laboratory in the 1930s. Psychologist B.F. Skinner built a simple chamber, later nicknamed the Skinner box, where a rat or pigeon could press a lever and receive a food pellet. Skinner wanted to understand exactly how behavior gets reinforced. So he experimented with different reward schedules, and what he discovered would end up shaping the device sitting in your pocket right now. When the animal got a pellet, every single time it pressed the lever when it was hungry and stopped when it wasn't. Predictable rewards produced predictable behavior. But Skinner tried something else. He made the rewards random. Sometimes the lever gave a pellet, sometimes it gave nothing. The animal could never know which press would pay off. Something remarkable happened. The animals pressed the lever more. Not less, more. Far more and far more compulsively than the animals receiving a reward every time. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, and it turned out to be the single most powerful pattern of behavior reinforcement ever documented. Uncertainty, it turns out, is more addictive than certainty. Not knowing if you'll get the reward is precisely what keeps you pulling the lever. Does that sound familiar? Every time you refresh your feed, you're pulling a lever. Sometimes there's something there. A message, a like, a piece of good news, a video that makes you laugh. Sometimes there's nothing. You can never predict which refresh will pay off, and that unpredictability isn't a bug in the design. It's the entire design. Decades after Skinner's pigeons, anthropologist Natasha Schull spent years studying an entirely different kind of lever puller, people using slot machines in Las Vegas. Her research revealed that modern slot machine design is engineered with obsessive precision around exactly the same principle Skinner discovered. The machines aren't built to make you win. They're built to keep you playing through what Schull called the zone, a trance-like state where the player isn't chasing a jackpot anymore. They're simply chasing the next pull. Schull's work showed something unsettling. Gamblers in the zone often say they aren't even trying to win money at that point. They're trying to stay in the rhythm of uncertainty itself, the small flicker of maybe over and over, with no endpoint built into the experience. The machine has no natural stopping cue. There's no moment that says you're done. There's only the next pull, always available, always possible. Now think about your phone. There is no natural stopping point in a social media feed. No bottom of the page. No moment where the app says, "That's everything, come back tomorrow." Just a scroll that regenerates infinitely, engineered by teams of people who studied exactly the same behavioral research Skinner started and Schull documented in casinos. Your phone was not built like a book, with a beginning, middle, and end. It was built like a slot machine, with only a middle forever. This isn't speculation. Former tech executives and designers, including engineers who helped build platforms you likely use daily, have publicly described building these systems around the deliberate goal of maximizing what the industry internally calls time on device. The pull to refresh gesture, the infinite scroll, the notification badge glowing red instead of a neutral color, because red draws the eye and creates urgency. None of these are accidents. Each one is a small mechanism pulled directly from decades of behavioral science, refined and tested against millions of users until it produced maximum engagement. Psychiatrist Anna Lemke, who studies addiction and the brain's reward circuitry, has described how these design choices interact with dopamine, the neurotransmitter your brain releases in anticipation of reward. Dopamine isn't really about pleasure itself. It's about the expectation of pleasure, the possibility that something good might be coming. That's precisely why uncertainty is so much more powerful than certainty. Your brain releases more dopamine chasing an unpredictable reward than receiving a guaranteed one. Lemke's research points to something important about how modern environments have changed the dopamine equation entirely. For most of human history, rewards were scarce and effortful. Food required hunting or gathering. Social connection required physical presence. Information required searching, waiting, traveling. Your dopamine system evolved in a world of friction, where reward was rare enough that chasing it made sense. Now the reward is one thumb movement away, infinitely available, refreshed every few seconds, engineered by the smartest behavioral scientists money can hire. Your ancient reward system, built for scarcity, is now operating inside an environment of manufactured abundance. It's like a smoke detector wired directly to a furnace that never turns off. Here's the twist that makes this even stranger. The people who built these systems often don't use them the way you do. Several prominent tech executives and designers have spoken publicly about strict screen time limits for their own children, banning certain apps in their own households, or deliberately choosing simpler, non-addictive devices for their kids. They understood the mechanism from the inside because they built it, and many of them chose not to let their families be subjects of the experiment. This isn't a story about evil villains twirling mustaches in Silicon Valley. It's a story about a very old piece of human psychology, discovered in a lab with rats and pellets, refined in casinos with slot machines and quarters, and eventually deployed at a scale no laboratory ever imagined, aimed directly at billions of nervous systems that never consented to the experiment and never had a chance to opt out of the biology involved. So when you feel that pull, the thumb moving before you've decided anything, understand what's actually happening. You are not weak. You are not lacking discipline. You are responding exactly as any human nervous system would respond, to a system engineered around one of the most robust findings in the entire history of behavioral psychology. The lever was built to be pulled. It was built by people who understood your brain's oldest reward circuitry better than you do, and it was built to make sure you could never quite predict what would happen next. Understanding this doesn't make the pull disappear, but it changes what it means. You can start to notice the moment before the reach, the small gap between the urge and the action. And in that gap, you have something the rats in Skinner's box never had. The awareness that the lever is a lever, that the box is a box, and that you are allowed to choose whether to press it at all. You pick up your phone. This time, notice it. That small magnetic pull isn't a flaw in you. It's a flaw in the design, aimed with extraordinary precision at the oldest reward system in your brain. And now that you can see the lever for what it is, you get to decide who's really pulling it.